The following audio may contain the personal testimonials of some Optavia coaches or clients of Optavia. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the Optavia team.
So I think we're going to go ahead and get started here and go live with tonight's Habits of Health call. So first, I want to welcome everybody. I'm Charlene Green, and I am so excited to be here with you. Can't wait to share the topic of tonight's Habits of Health and really how we're focusing on the elements that are going to really take us to optimal well-being. So I want to say hi to everybody that's out there. And I want to thank the people that have done the call here, the Zoom webinar, I should say, over the last 3 weeks. So first, element number 1 was covered by Leslie. Element number 2 was covered by Craig. Element number 3 was covered by Doug and Tia Wood. And now here I am with you to cover element 4. And we have another special guest speaker that's going to join me in a little bit here. But you guys, tonight is my favorite topic because it's the topic of mindset. And element number 4 is all about creating and building a healthy mindset in your life. And this excites me so much because our mind really dictates so much of our life because our thoughts become things. And Dr. Anderson has given us so many tools in this part of our life book right here. Who's got their life book? It goes everywhere with me. Well, this chapter, I guess you're calling it, is so powerful. So tonight we're going to dig in. We're going to make it come alive for you. So are you ready? Let's go. So element number 4, building a healthy mind. This is really the mindset of where its focus is going to dictate where you're going. And I want to remind you before we dive into the details that Habits of Health Transformation System is where it's at. So we have these tools, Dr. A's Habits of Health book, which is my reference guide, my app, which is on my phone, and I am loving that. And tonight, we're going to actually touch base on that of how there is a certain piece of that app that's going to help you with the mindset. Of course, the life book, which goes everywhere with me, and then, getting online and using the Habits of Health website. This is our transformation system. Am I using every part of it every day? No, but every day I'm using a part of it, and I hope that you are too. So tonight in element 4, here's what's going to happen. We will understand how the people, places, and things in your surroundings can be modified. You guys, you can change these around. Really, the name of the game is flexibility. So it can serve you in creating your new story. Who wants to write a new story of their life? That's what we're all about in Optavia. And really helping you, number 2, to realize the power and importance of self-awareness. This is something that I think throughout my life I've been building. There was a season in my life when I wasn't aware at all of what was going on, and now I have a high level of self-awareness, and this is going to be a key factor in how successful you will be in your journey. And finally, we're going to help you gain tools for building that healthy mindset. So we're going to understand, realize, and gain some tools tonight. Let's go. Okay, so first of all, I love this saying. It's time for you to become the dominant force in your life. This is so important. And I love that on the front of the life book, it says that. It actually says becoming the dominant force in your life. That's what it says. So are you ready for that? It's time. If you're not already there, and I have to say, even if you're well on the way, there's always another level that you can build to. So one of the questions I want to kind of start with tonight is this. And by the way, I love questions because they're the answer. They help you find the answer. And have you noticed that in your life book, there's a lot of questions for you? So my question for you to start with is, who is responsible for your current health and well-being? Is it someone else or is it you? And it's definitely you. So you have the power, you have the responsibility, and we're going to help you harness it and take it to a whole new level tonight. So this is something I want to open your mind to if you haven't already dove into element number 4, which by the way starts on page 100 of your life book. And it's probably going to take you a week or two of really studying this to actually grasp it. Remember, fast isn't better in this case. You want to actually digest this information. And I want to ask you another question. And that is, where are you right now? Are you above this line or below this line? Above the line in living is where you have a mindset that is open, curious about growth. Below the line is where you're closed, defensive, and you want to be right. So where do you think you are right now? And don't judge it, just observe it. This is the awareness. If you're judging it, then you're back under the line again. Just stay open, curious. Where am I right now in my life? Well, we want to start really getting in touch with where we are on a regular basis with that, especially when something pulls our trigger, rips our cord, pulls our chain. And I want to do a little exercise with you guys right now. It's a physical exercise. So if you're watching this and you're not driving a car, or a combine, if you live in Oregon where I live, everyone's combining the fields right now. I want you to hold out your hands. I want you to kind of like this, wiggle your fingers and kind of have some movement. This is that energy of open, curious, you're about growth. You see this? And it's expansive energy. Now, I want you to take your hands and I want you to close your fist tight like this. And I want you to dig your nails in. It doesn't feel very good. It doesn't feel good on your knuckles. It doesn't feel good on your palms. It doesn't feel good anywhere. This is closed, defensive, contracted. That's that energy. So you can start to pay attention when something upsets you in some way or annoys you or just puts you off kilter. Well, what's happening? Raise your awareness. Where am I right now? Am I above or below the line? Am I feeling closed, defensive? Am I feeling open and curious? And watch, because your body's going to have a little bit of a physical reaction. There's some great questions in this chapter. When I get upset in my life, I remember in the past, especially because I'm married, I would say, stop upsetting me, honey. And then along my journey, I realized the only person that can upset me is me. That's a new thought, right? So it was funny when I was going through this chapter, and it said, when I find myself getting upset, where do I put that responsibility? And there's 4 questions. Find myself unable to think straight. So that means you're just unconscious. Look to blame it on someone, closed and defensive. Feel very angry. Again, that's under the line. Or do I realize that only I can upset myself? And I thought, this is really powerful stuff. So I love the above, the below the line. And there's going to be more about this as you move through your life book, because it will really start to show you some of the behaviors that show up above the line and below the line. So we're going to want to watch this, and later on, our guest speaker is going to take you through an exercise that's actually in the Element 4 chapter on what to do when you find yourself drifting below the line because something happens. And this happens a lot on our journey. And as that happens, we find ourselves in the drama triangle. This triangle is kind of like being in jail. You just are stuck in this place that is not productive for you. So the drama triangle exists under that line that we were just talking about. And this is where you really feel these kind of feelings. It's not fair. You feel like the victim. Or I'm here to save the day. I'll help you. You're playing the hero. And that's where you're really enabling people to be the victim. Or that villain role where you blame yourself or you blame someone else. You're blaming people, and you're always wondering, well, whose fault is it? And the victim, again, is where you feel like it's not fair and it's being done to you. The truth is, life is never being done to you. It's being done through you. And when you have that awareness and that power, you can stay above the line. What's interesting is everybody has the victim, the hero, or the villain that when they are going to play one of these roles and they really are not taking personal responsibility for themselves, they're living their life out here, they enter into the triangle through one of those roles. Well, my role formerly was definitely the hero role. Before I knew about this and I really understood it, I was here to save the day. I was going to make it all better. Everything was going to be fine. I was going to come in and I was going to take care of it. When you do that for other people, you're robbing them of their responsibility and ability to become the dominant force in their life. So I had to get rid of my hot pink superhero cape, and I had to come into alignment with being in charge of myself and helping other people to see what this looks like. I love that Dr. Anderson has so much about building emotional resiliency, which comes from awareness in this element. How great is that? So here's what it looks like when you're not living in that drama triangle or hanging out there or even making a pit stop. This is when you're above the line. You're in the empowerment triangle. Yes, please. I'll have some of that. That sounds great. This is where I like to live, where I'm in charge of what happens. I'm creating my news story. I'm responsible for me. I'm the creator, the coach. I get to help others to really get better because I'm coaching them. I'm helping them to be the dominant force in their life. I empower others to be successful. I'm coaching them. They're responsible for themselves. And then the challenger, where I am challenging myself in the way that I am open, I am curious, and I am ready to learn. I know that obstacles actually help me get better. You know, in Optavia, we have a saying that the obstacle is the way. Why is it the way? Because it's helping me to get better. It's helping me to grow more. I'm curious and I'm ready to learn. So I love seeing what empowerment looks like, and I love knowing what drama looks like so that I can start to really have the awareness to identify right away, where am I right now? And you guys, I would say that this is a lot like, you know, when you're going to put into your GPS because you want to go somewhere. This is like when you pull that up and it's like, if you don't have your location set on, you'd have to put your address in of where you are. You have to know where you are. And I tell it where I want to go, and that I'm off and running. We've got to know where we are. And awareness is where you actually go, oh, that's interesting. I'm in the drama triangle right now. Oops. So I'd love for you to stop and think for a minute. Where is your entry point for that drama triangle? Where is your kind of go-to? Where do you kind of end up starting if you're going to do something? Is it blaming other people and wondering whose fault it is? Is it being a victim and feeling powerless? Is it being the hero and rescuing and saving and making everything better and feeling great about it? Where's your spot that you tend to be? It's important to know because you can catch yourself when you're doing it. And by the way, when I first saw this illustration years ago, I actually thought, well, I'm just the hero. I don't do the other stuff. But I want you to know it's a triangle where you cycle around through if you don't get out quick. And today we're going to give you a tool to avoid it completely, how to just not even go there. And what's interesting is if like I'm the hero, then guess what happens when other people don't let me help them? I feel like, why aren't they letting me help them? I start blaming them. And then as I'm blaming them, I start to feel powerless because I really can't help anybody. And guess where I end up? As the victim. I would have never thought of myself as a victim. So just know that you want to learn not to not only avoid the drama triangle, but to actually know your current place that you are, your current GPS standing emotionally. You know, where is that at? And this is going to be so powerful. It's so powerful. The Dr. A wrote in the book here, I have to read this to you because I was just loving this. He says, this is a keystone in installing the habits of a healthy mind. It plays a vital role in helping you take charge of your health and your life because it starts with self-awareness. So awareness is the key. And something happens when we jump on our program, if it's for our physical well-being, which is where we really do start, as our whole mind starts getting clear because our nutrition, our hydration, you know, our healthy weight is coming into place, our mind becomes clear and we can start to learn to be more aware. And then we're moving into element 4, which is really, okay, now we're really building that muscle. So let's keep going. I love it. I love what I'm seeing too. Some people are saying, hey, I'm a recovering hero. Well, actually, now you don't have to do that anymore because we're going to learn how to really identify where we're standing and also which brain we're using. Are you using the lizard brain, which is where you're really on autopilot? You automatically respond to something. How many of you have ever had situations come where you just have a trigger and you respond just like an animal, like a lizard, like you're just like responding? Okay, we want to move from that when we're stimulated to looking up to the emotional brain, which is where you are responding out of emotion. And that's still not where we want to be. We want to keep going until we're in that human thinking brain. And I want to really pause on this and show you, actually point you, I should say, towards the stimulus and the response that's up here. Do you guys see that there's no gap between those two circles? We want to create a gap, a pause, a space. You know, it's so interesting. In music, which my family does a lot of different musical instruments, I love music. If there's no pause, if there's no rest, it's just noise. It's not even pleasant. And I'll say that in our life, if there's no pause, if there's no rest between being stimulated and responding, we're in trouble. Because now we're not able to make a conscious response. It's going to be an emotional response. And we want to become to where we are consciously competent in our life, right? Who wants that? I definitely do. So I love this little graphic that Dr. A has created. And I like what he has called the brains as well. I've heard lots of different things the brains are called, but this makes a lot of sense, right? So now let's look at what happens when we engage in our thinking. We actually engage our thinking. And when we have that self-awareness, we can move out of that automatic response, out of that emotional response, and we can move into where we're actually thinking. And that is because we have a gap now. We've paused. When we feel stimulated, we feel annoyed, upset, emotional, something's going on. It's all like, kind of starting to stir in us. We're aware, and then we can pause. And this is where I'm going to bring in my very good friend, the amazing Tanya Robinson from all the way out in North Carolina. And she's going to give you the tool that you can use as a signal to pause, and then what to do in that gap so you can make a response that's not emotional. Who would love to do that? So Tanya, are you ready, girl?
I am. Thank you so much, Charlene. And I am so honored to be here with you all tonight, talking about a subject that is so near and dear to my heart, and it's the mindset. I have personally experienced a shift in my mindset over the last year, and I just want to share that with you a little bit. But I also want to give you a tool, something that we have that is so amazing. If you have not gotten involved in our app, our Habits of Health app, please go to the App Store or go to your Google Play Store and download the app. It's called Dr. A's Habits of Health, and it's an app that you can download on your phone. And this is what it looks like. I was able to pull that up on my phone. Okay, so it's basically a habit tracker for you to track not only your fuelings and your hydration, but to track your thought process, because we've learned that that is so important with sustainability, with all of the things that are happening in our lives, being in control of our decisions. So if we're tracking that and consciously aware of our thought process, then we can move towards our goals and be more successful. So it's talking about stop, challenge, and choose. And I want to reference you to the amazing life book that Charlene talked about. Oh my goodness. This thing is amazing. If you've not been involved in your life book, I encourage you to do so. On page 114, it talks about stop, challenge, and choose. And I just want to take you through that a little bit, because Charlene did an amazing job at talking about creating that gap, right? Because all day we are responding to stimulus, response. Our alarm clock goes off. We wake up, we put our feet on the floor. School bus arrives, we put our kids on the bus. We do a lot of things mindlessly throughout each day, but there are some things that we really need to make sure that we make a conscious decision about, or things can go kind of crazy in our lives, sort of like what happened to me over the last year or so. And I want to share that with you, but talking about stopping, okay? And Dr. A says it so beautifully on page 115 in our life book. Stopping means that you detect a feeling. That is the cue which signals you to stop, right? So if something doesn't feel right, not sure if I should make a quick decision on this, not sure what I should do at this point, so just stop. Then you move into your challenge. That's when you challenge, what should my decision be in these circumstances? Is what I choose, or what my thought process, is that serving me well? Is that driving me towards my goals, right? So you just take a moment to be consciously aware so that you are in control of your decision. Otherwise, you end up falling into the trap of mindlessness throughout your day. So you're challenging. And then the final step is choosing. You're actually choosing what your action is going to be, because you want to make sure that your actions are driving you towards your goals. I think about this, this is not just important with our fueling plan, with hydration. It's important with everything that we do in life. I think about financial pieces, this is very relatable, how we can go into a store and see something that we really love. Do we just run and buy it, grab it, take it to the counter, and the next day we have buyer's remorse? Or do we stop and think about, do I really need this? Is this in line with my financial goals? Then you make the choice. Should I purchase it, or should I leave it there? Right? So it applies to every aspect of your life. When you have a stimulus that comes in and you're challenged, you're having a stressful day, and someone brings donuts to work, and you stop for a moment and you think to yourself, is this really in line with my goals? And then you make that choice based on what your goals are. The app is so amazing. It has helped me so much because this concept of stop, challenge, and choose, we're able to track what our thought process is. So when you go into this app, at the bottom, as I was showing you, at the bottom in the yellow area, and my lighting is a little off here, but there's a big yellow stone at the bottom. You can click on that and you can type in what the stimulus was, what the cue was, what the feeling was that cued that signal for you to stop. You can track that, type it in. You can go in and put in what the challenge was. How did that make you feel? And you can actually type in there on the next screen what you actually did, what the outcome was, so that we get better and better at our habits. We get better and better at our decision making. And you guys, sometimes we're talking about this mindset. We're talking about really the healthy way of thinking and the different levels of thinking. Sometimes we're not in a great mindset, and I will share that with you in just a moment, but I was not in a great mindset a year ago, and up until this point, about 3 months ago. And you know what? I deciding is such a powerful word. Charlene introduced me to that big word that was so powerful in my life. I decided to start challenging my decisions, start really thinking about, even though my mindset wasn't there, I knew that if I continued and I was consistent about my habitual thinking or my consistency, it would become a habit and my positive thinking would fall into place. So I say all of that, bring you back to my story. I had a significant weight loss journey, significant physical transformation, but that was not the only piece to my puzzle. And I did not realize that until the last year when I transformed my mindset. So I will tell you this, I was pushed, pulled, drugged, thrown. I felt like that. That's the way I convey my story to you, because that's what I was feeling. I was the villain. I was the victim. I tried to be the hero. I was all over that drama triangle. And it wasn't until I started this stop, challenge, and choose that I really became the dominant force in my life. Now, Charlene, I'd love for you to go to the next slide with the 3 levels of thinking, just to kind of recap what you were saying. Just going back to that engagement and thinking and creating that gap, that delay in your response, instead of reacting emotionally, to maybe if it's your fueling plan, stress eating, things like that, automatic responses, things that you are learned behaviors that you're doing, and moving into the thinking process, really putting thought behind the actions that you're doing. And Charlene, we can move to the next slide now and just kind of talk about above and below the line thinking, right? So when all of that life was happening to me, life was, so intrusive to me. I felt like, gosh, I'm a target here. I was a victim, and I was below the line. My thought process was so below the line. I was closed, like Charlene said, closed fist, closed up, arms crossed. No one can come in, negative thoughts and everything. It's not until you move above that line thinking that you can move into making the best decisions for your life. And Charlene, I think there's one more slide here. Looking at the healthy mindset and just recapping this, guys. Look at the presence at the top, right? Fully present at the top, right? Stimulus comes in, something happens, and we can easily drift down to the bottom into that victim, villain, hero. It's very easy. It's a reactive mode. It's a very easy place to be in your life because it requires no thought. It's a reaction. So make sure that when a stimulus happens in your life, you stop that before you drop into that triangle. Stop, challenge, and choose your decisions wisely. Make sure that your decisions are in line with your goal. And when you start to do that, you will become the dominant force in your life. Charlene, tell us what's next.
Next. First, I must unmute myself. I'm unmuted. And Tanya, this was so good. Are you guys loving this? I sure am. And this is all in chapter 4. So you've got to go, element 4, starting on page 100. As you move along, definitely take the time in each of these elements to understand it. I want to just pause on the drama triangle one more time and say, when we end up with that below the line, that closed, that clenched fist, like I was sharing with you guys, we end up in blame, shame, fear, unrest, anxiety, stress. And what happens is that really affects our overall well-being. And that can really lead us into those bad habits of emotional eating, smartphone addiction, gambling, shopping, all of the above, whatever that is, that's our escape behavior. So I love the word drift here, because we tend to drift in life, and consciousness is where we come back. And, instead of saying, you stop that right now, we're just going to stop. We're going to stop for just a minute and hit pause, create that rest. So it's not just noise. And there's another way to really do this that Dr. Ray talks about in element number 4, and that's conscious breathing. And, I want to just pause here, as we're moving into the final stretch, the last little 5 minutes of our time with you. Gosh, it's gone fast. And I want to just pause on breathing. And breathing is so important. There's a funny movie out right now, and somebody's freaking out in the movie, and the other person's sitting there calm, and he's like, how are you so calm? And she said, I'm practicing the Navy breathing technique, the Navy SEAL breathing technique. And he's freaking out, and she's going for 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out. And I was just giggling to myself watching the movie, because I thought, well, Dr. Ray doesn't have the Navy SEAL breathing technique in your life book, but he has a breathing technique, and it's to have a constant rhythm where you're coming in and out at the same amount of time, have an even flow. So you have that airflow that's at the right rate of speed. And then finally, that you have a positive emotional experience with it as much as possible by really focusing on that heart area. And that's one of the most powerful areas of our body. And so as you really look at this is how you can, the quickest way to take control of your body is with your breathing. So, it's really important. I used to be a breath holder. I would find myself sighing after a long time. I thought, have I been holding my breath? I think I was holding my breath in my life for a long time. And as I've gained so much control to be the dominant force in my life with all of these skills, it's so exciting to be able to understand the power of the breath. And I love that it's the conscious breathing, because we're always breathing, to stay alive. But to consciously breathe slows everything down. 3 of those, amazing. So you guys just should do that right now. And the other thing you can do is you can drink a glass of water. And Lee and I, my husband, we have a joke. If we're talking about something and it gets a little stressful, I'll say, I need to get a glass of water, honey. And that's kind of like, let's pause. That's like hitting the pause button. Sometimes we even said, I'm going to get a gallon of water. I'll be back. So drink some water. Remember to breathe. This is all part of raising your awareness, tools for building that healthy mindset and really becoming the dominant force in your life. It's so simple. Stop what you're doing. Take a breath. Maybe drink a glass of water. It takes about 2 minutes to calm yourself when you've been agitated to a higher level or annoyed or just off kilter. Challenge yourself, like Tanya said, and then make a conscious choice. And then you can feel great about your choice because it was conscious and you chose it. I love that, whether it's your food plan that you're on, your fueling system that you're doing, making that choice when other things come up that are old triggers, whether it's, the financial piece, whatever it is, you now have the ability and the control to really dictate the course that you're going to go. And I love that. Don't you love it? How great is this to have all of this information in one place? So now as we're wrapping up, I want to say, hey, it's your turn. What does this element mean to you as you're hearing about it right now? What does it mean? For me, it means freedom. When you master this, it's freedom forever. Number 2, what does this element give you the opportunity to reflect upon? Because when you start asking yourself these questions, you guys, and you start connecting the dots, the whole picture comes into play. It's a beautiful thing. And then last but least, what actions are you going to take as a result of this element? You're going to breathe? Are you going to grab a glass of water? Are you going to watch yourself and go, where am I right now? Oh, I'm drifting. Are you going to drift all the way down? Or are you going to catch yourself with stop, challenge, choose right then? Are you going to use the app? What are you going to do? Because if you do something different, you're going to go somewhere different. And then I want to just invite you to start making your YouTube playlist. YouTube has all of the recordings as they come available. And you guys can see right here, it's already got the Life Book intro by Amber. Did such a stellar job on that. We have element 1, element 2, element 3, element 4 is going to be in here. It's going to be so powerful for you to be able to not only see this once, but to go back and watch it again, hear it. Get into your book though. Don't let this be the only thing that you do, because writing, do you know what writing actually does? Writing something down actually takes something that's not in the physical world and brings it into the physical world. It takes a thought and starts to make it a thing. So make sure that you're using pen to paper. There is magic in that. And the very last thing I want to share with you is what's on deck for next week. Join us next week. It's going to be your life book, Element 5, Optimizing Your Surroundings. And boy, what's around us does affect us. So today I hope that you have had an amazing time as you have been learning about building your healthy mindset. I want to thank Tanya for joining me and sharing from her heart. Wow, she's such a powerful woman. And I want to invite you to embrace everything that we offer, from your healthy body to your healthy mind to your healthy finances. I'm so excited that you are with us tonight, because as you change and rise to a higher level of consciousness, our world changes, and we together are going to change the world. So thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
This audio may have contained the personal testimonials of some Optavia coaches or clients of Optavia. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the Optavia team.